For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's Tuesday practice of UCLA week. Now, Dan, I want to start off with the somewhat surprising news of the day. USC is ranked in the college football playoff rankings. They're number 23, so that's their first entrance into the rankings. And we got to ask the players and coaches the reaction to it. And it was similar to the reactions to the fact that it's rivalry week against UCLA. It was kind of like a, that's nice shrug, but we're on to the next game. We want to win the next game and don't put too much into either of those things.
That's exactly right. I mean, I think it's a kind of maturing attitude of, the UCLA game is big. We know all of those guys. It's a rivalry. You got the trophy and all that kind of stuff. But it's the next game on our schedule. And if we want to finish strong and win 5 out of the last 6, you got to win Saturday. So it's the game that makes you 8-4, and still gives you a chance to hang on and hope against hope that something happens to Utah. Mm-hmm. But it was, Michael Pittman was like, wow, he responded appropriately, I think, because it's kind of a surprise when you look at the AP and the coaches poll. Have USC 10, 11 spots below that, which is pretty dumb actually right now, when USC would probably be favored over many of those teams that are ranked above them in the polls. I think the college football playoff people kind of got it right. I mean, they really study this, and does that do you any good Saturday? And then Clay immediately went to, it's nice, Bob, and then immediately we have a game to win Saturday, and I'm not sure that ranking that doesn't help us win that game.
Mm-hmm. As far as practice goes, I think you and I agree that they were in good spirits, and of course you would be after a blowout win. But what were your takeaways from practice? I know it's almost kind of senior week. I know they say that for the last week of the bowl game, but they kind of did it this week. Some of the seniors switched jerseys with other players, so you kind of had to search for the players you were looking for on the field. But what was your take from our 20-minute window?
I thought they got started fast. I think we can kind of tell how they're going to get started, and how, And I thought they jumped right into 11 on 11. We're closer to the defense, so I just thought the scout team is moving around, really quickly. I thought guys are, flying around out there, and you might not be doing a hitting, and we may, make comments about how much hitting or tackling, but they were flying around, and you got to like that. And I like it that, every day they throw the deep ball, and even today Clay jumped in there and was throwing some of the deep balls, and I think, throwing it well. I mean, he's so that was fun. That's fun to watch, and they really worked at that, and it's paying off, and good for them. But it just hit a good feel. I mean, part of it is, it's getting ready to rain, and it's cool, and kind of windy and dark and all that. That's kind of the way football ought to be by the end of the season in the fall, and the weather cooperated today, so it just hit a good feel. I thought.
Well, it didn't totally cooperate. During interviews, we actually were kicked off the field because of a lightning warning. We had to go inside to USC's indoor track, so a new scenery for interviews and for instant analysis. So it didn't always cooperate.
My point was, that's cooperating. If the weather is making life a little bit more difficult for you, that's how football ought to be when you grew up, where I grew up. And so that's kind of like football weather. So for the people out here, they don't get to do that very much. So I actually thought that was cooperation, because you got to, compete against the elements too.
Okay, but I'm a SoCal girl, so this is not cooperation. But as you mentioned, we got to talk to Michael Pittman today, and he's kind of declined to talk to the media the last couple of weeks, but this was the first time we got to talk to him in a while, and he actually was named a semifinalist for the Biletnikoff Award. What did he have to say in his first kind of true media appearance in a while?
He's probably as good as anybody in talking about what we just talked about. I mean, he's really pushing that hard, and he didn't want to, put down the rivalry. He didn't want to put down the trophy and how the fan bases feel. But he was, as strong as anybody is. This is the next game. We can get better. I can get better. I need to get better, and that's what he's thinking. And so, he's not thinking about, does he belong in the, that group of, greatest ever USC wide receivers, and statistically, where does he belong and all that. He said, I wish I got started a little earlier. Didn't have some injuries, and Clay talked about how he started, as a special teams guy, and kind of worked his way off of that. And I know he wasn't happy, and I think his dad wasn't happy, and all of that, that first year. But he, as Clay said, he didn't get disgruntled. He just worked it out, worked his way through, and became the player he is. I do think when Clay looks around, he is just so proud of Michael Pittman. I just think Michael is like the guy that they're just so terribly proud of. I mean, I think John Houston and Christian Rector also kind of fit in that category. As Clay said, it's a small senior class, just eight guys, and so they're really proud about. But Michael Pittman is just playing just as well as anybody. He's just so determined. He talked about how when the ball's up in the air, he doesn't think about anything else other than the football. He said, I don't care about the guy defending me or the guys or where my feet are or anything else. I'm just totally focused on that football. He said he dropped a pass. I guess it was in the UCLA game when he was a freshman. He was wide open. Sam Darnold hit him, and he dropped it. And he said, ever since that moment, he said, I'm just obsessed with catching the football. And I think the report is maybe he's dropped just one this year. Mm-hmm. We're not sure. He couldn't remember where and somebody, it was kind of like a compliment. You've only dropped one this year, and he said that's one too many.
Yeah.
And he's just, so that's who he is right now. He is that guy. If you're sitting at home and watching him, he's that guy. He's doing those things, and he's had a wonderful, wonderful year, and it's great to see him being recognized.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, as far as age range goes, true freshman wide receiver Drake London had a career night against Cal. He was named Pac-12 Freshman of the Week. And Graham Harrell had a lot of praise for him in his scrum. He said that Drake likes to be coached difficultly. He likes to have that pressure on him. And we've just seen him really come into his own in these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, as Graham said, you're thinking about a guy. He's a 6'5" basketball player, and so you have a kind of a picture in your mind of a basketball player. And he said that's not Drake at all. He said Drake will do things like ask them to call the same play again because he wants to block that guy. Graham said he wants to put his face on that guy, and he'll come out and he wants to be coached hard, and he wants the coaches to absolutely demand that he do, as good a job as he can on every single play. And he said he'll get mad if he isn't coached hard. So, and yet he comes across, he's so soft-spoken and so kind of easygoing, and he is a basketball player. So you put all those things together, but that's not the guy they see, and that's not the guy who has gotten so much better from the Brigham Young and Washington games to now. I mean, honestly, and I've said this to people, I think just Drake London himself, if you could go back and play those two games, just the improvement in Drake London, you might win both. You win both of those games. Yeah. So that's where he's come from this year, and it's pretty remarkable. The number of freshmen that are doing, just great things for this team.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now, as far as injuries go, Vavae Malepeai was in full pads and practice today, but Clay Helton said he's still day-to-day. I tried to get something out of Mike Jinks, and he said, I'm done giving any guesses about Vavae because we just don't know each week. And then Tyler Vaughns was listed as 75%. And then pretty much the same guys are out. EA is still out. Marquise Stepp, Liam Jimmons, Brett Nealon. So it's kind of the same grouping, but the guys who are questionable right now are pretty much Tyler Vaughns and Vavae Malepeai.
Yeah, it was interesting. Andrew Voies came in, and he's got a boot, I guess, on his left foot, and Brett Nealon has one on his right. And I'm thinking, they come in walking in next to one another. I think, you could put the two feet with the boots on, put those guys together in a three-legged race, and it was just, you just realize how many guys that they've got, and who were they standing next to? I'm trying to think. There was a third, Brett, and Andrew, and there was a third guy, and I'm thinking those all you could be. Oh, Liam Jimmons. Yeah. So they're just standing in like a little group, and you say, well, that could be 3/5 of your starting offensive line, and there they are. It's just you're used to that now. I mean, it's not like even a big deal. There are a lot of teams where if you had three potential, veterans and offensive, line starters standing there not practicing, you'd be, oh my God, what are we going to do? And this team has kind of moved past that.
Yeah. Someone joked on the sideline, I wish I was USC's manufacturer for boots because you're making a lot of money this season. But as far as injury updates, too, we did see Munir McClain. He's in a boot out of the knee scooter, if you will. He was walking pretty well, which was surprising.
Yeah,
and then JT
really
Daniels
well.
also was back to walking. So ACO update on that front. But, Dan, as far as this UCLA team, what do you take away from their last performance? I think they thought they had turned a corner before they reached Utah. But obviously got blown out by the Utes. Where's the challenge for this USC team taking on the Bruins?
Well, if last year doesn't point out how you can't take anybody for granted in this, in this rivalry, I mean, you would think it's going to be a pretty tough road back for UCLA after last week. I think they, started believing their, press clippings and believing their fans, and we know how that works. It certainly happened at USC, but I just think USC has to be able to stop the run. And I just saw a stat today. The Pac-12 blog said I think USC's given up the most rushing first downs in the Pac-12. They're dead last. They couldn't stop the run last year with UCLA. They better be able to stop the run. They don't always play the quarterback running the ball well. UCLA's got that. They've got, Joshua Kelly, who they couldn't stop at all last year. So USC's defense better show up. I mean, they better be able to stop the run. And, they did okay against Cal, but not great. I just think they really do have to show up.
One other tidbit from practice today, Clay Helton said that they will be filing an NFL evaluation for Tyler Vaughns. He'll be one of the 5 that will be sent. Helton declined to say the other 4 because it's a personal thing. But, Dan, as far as guys who could leave, are there anyone on your radar besides maybe a Tyler Vaughns?
Well, you got some of the offensive linemen.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them are ready. I don't think Tyler physically is ready. I mean, I think you file for the 5, but I don't see anyone that probably ought to take that leap at this point in time. I think another season for all those guys, but the running backs, they haven't been healthy enough. I mean, you got a couple of guys there that maybe would have hoped they could go after 3, but I really don't see it. I think the opportunity for this offense next year is so good. I think that you might be better off coming back and be part of an offense that has its act together and have some really good film because I think it would be hit and miss for most of these guys right now.
Yeah. There's always that random straggler that leaves that's a little head scratching. So keep your eye out for that. But any final thoughts before we wrap it up here on a Tuesday?
No, I just think I'm glad the game's at the Coliseum. I think that's a good thing this week, and maybe we'll see enough of a crowd. I mean, it's kind of a shame what happened to UCLA because I think their fans would have shown up if they would have, they weren't going to probably win that game, but if they'd have, battled to the point where, the USC game really means something for them, in terms of bowl eligibility and things like that. I don't know if that's taken all the air out of the UCLA fans or not. There was pretty much hot air last week, and I think that's kind of gone. But maybe the USC fans will make up for it, when the last game and get them to 8-4. But I think it's just a good thing that it's at the Coliseum, the new kind of renewed Coliseum and all that, and see what it looks like if you get a really nice crowd in there. I just don't know. I don't know if the fans have passed on it or not. The 12:30 starting time is it's better than 7:30 or 8 o'clock. That's for sure. But
debatable.
It is for me. The idea of leaving the press box and trying to make sure you get to the parking garage before they close it at 2 or 2:30 or whatever it is. That's always kind of a bummer. So if you can leave there and the sun is still out or barely out, that's always a better thing for me. So I'm happier that you know, 12:30 is early, but I'm happier that it's 12:30 than late at night.
You can tell who's the day person and who's the night person. But that's going to wrap it up from USC's Tuesday practice of UCLA week. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.